Welcome in lacrosse fans to the Utah Lacrosse Report podcast. I'm your host, Tim Haslam. My guest today is Michelle Buechner, who is the Skyridge girls head coach. And on this episode, we talk a lot about college lacrosse because she's got a couple kids playing it, a couple kids committed. And we also talk about the synergies between youth and high school lacrosse. We talked about her playing time in Virginia and BYU and a bunch of different stuff. Really love this episode. Hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the show, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I am doing well. It's a snowy day today, so not a whole lot of lacrosse going on. So it's a perfect day for a podcast.
Yep, there you go.
First question I ask every guest: when did you start playing lacrosse?
I started in high school and I played in Virginia, and then I played at BYU, and then got into coaching once my girls were old enough to play. And we had our first team. We had 6 players on the team from representing 4 different high schools. And that's where we started here at Skyridge. And so it's come a long way since then. It's been a great joy to kind of watch that happen.
And we'll definitely get to Skyridge. Talk about though your time at BYU. I imagine it was a handful of years ago. And what was playing the lacrosse at BYU like?
It was a lot of fun. There wasn't a whole lot of organization there. The players did a lot of organizing, but who was great was Jen Mulholland. It was Jen Hadley at the time. Her daughter plays at Park City, and she's just a beautiful individual. But she got us organized and did a lot of things for us. So that was great. She was instrumental in starting lacrosse here in Utah. And we did some tournaments, and we met some great people, and it was just a great experience.
Yeah, and Jen, one of the founding persons of the women's lacrosse high school leagues here in Utah, back in the late '90s. Was Sonny Bartlett on your team?
She was my goalie. I love Sonny. She's a favorite.
I don't know her maiden name. I just know that it's Bartlett now. So another person who's just been around. There's I did a podcast with Megan Jensen, who was part of those early teams.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Just a lot of awesome people who gave back and are giving back to the sport in those early BYU women's teams, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's funny to look at those old pictures and see people that are currently working hard in Utah to promote the sport and keep it going.
Definitely. And you mentioned you've got a handful of kids, 6 kids,
Yep.
And you started coaching again. What kept you in the game, if anything? Maybe you took a break. But between the time you graduated from BYU and stopped playing to when you started coaching, what kept you occupied then?
Oh, my kids in college. It was just a lot of kids, and they were all kind of close together. And I coach them in soccer, but my understanding of soccer rules was fairly limited at that time, and there was always a toddler running around.
Definitely. And talk about your decision to come back to coaching when you started coaching lacrosse. You mentioned probably a need, and your kids were getting to that age.
I got asked by a friend. So if I'd be willing to, and of course I was, and I was thrilled. I didn't know there was lacrosse in Utah. I was pretty sure there wasn't. And I was thrilled to know that there was a league. And then Lori Pod-Millsack from Park City kind of was a good mentor as well. And I worked with her kind of getting started as well. And we just never looked back. We try and recruit your kids' friends and their friends and just try and have someone to play. The whole point, I was talking with the Lone Peak youth director just a few minutes ago, and we just agreed the whole purpose of it, let's get our kids to play, whatever it takes, so our kids can play this sport that we love.
I love that, and a lot of times it's a lot of long hours. It's obviously, low pay. I don't think anyone in the state is making money at lacrosse yet.
No.
And so it's just it's a love of the game for sure. I've definitely felt that on my end, and you're not alone in that regard, right? Lots of people doing lots of cool stuff for their kids, and
Yep.
getting their kids to play. And there's a common thread there for sure. Let's talk about the Skyridge team. You start coaching there, you find some success. What's led to where you're at today?
Well, just a lot of years at the youth program. And so that was a lot of fun. And then I was privileged to be able to start at Skyridge High School while some of my youth players were seniors. And so that was just a great joy for me. See them again, see them still playing. I've got one of them, Tiger, is actually going to be one of our assistant coaches this year, and she's fantastic and just joined our coaching staff. So these are girls I've gone to their bridal showers and their weddings and their mission farewells and the different things. And it's just a joy to keep up with them. But so we've got the high school team, and then I also help run the youth program. We've got some amazing coaches that are down 7-8. We've got 3 returning coaches that just do amazing things. Love those guys. And then our 5th, 6th coach is fantastic. All of them, K2, 3, 4, they're fantastic individuals. I feel so privileged to be able to work with that group. And the boys have a great program as well, and just wonderful people.
And your son on that boys team, one of the leading scorers in the state last year. What is it about the household that you guys just love lacrosse? What instilled that in them?
It's such a lovable sport. Okay, so the sport speaks for itself, but also it might have something to do with the mini lacrosse to the death in our basement. We've got a little cage and little fiddlesticks and a little ball, and there are very precise rules about the timing of it and who can be in goal and who can't be in goal. And it's as the name might suggest, lacrosse to the death. And there have been a lot of hours spent there. I've got my chaos shirt today. We've been spend a bunch of PLL games every time we can. We come and watch the PLL here in Utah. In fact, we went and watched them in Minnesota a year or 2 ago. So we're huge lacrosse nerds and huge lacrosse fans. Now I got my girls in college, so now we're interested in the D3 women's and the D1 women's. And there's that great game, Richmond versus UVA, the other day. That was it's so fun to watch. And I think we all feel that way in my house. It's just such a fun thing to watch, fun thing to play and to do in our spare time. And then, box each other out at the refrigerator, and, it kind of translates in other
Absolutely.
arenas.
Yeah, there's things you can apply in your entire life, including boxing out at the fridge for sure.
Yep.
That's awesome. Where does your husband fall in this? Did he grow up playing lacrosse? I'm assuming he loves it now.
He does love it now. He likes to call himself the man behind the curtain, because he just does everything. He's a student of the game. He printed out a bunch of stats for me today in case I needed them, and he'll help coach and drive the kids while I'm coaching. And we both grew up in Virginia, so lacrosse was a big thing. He didn't play, but we're just huge nerds of the game right now.
I love it. Do we need to go over some of the stats that he printed? Would that make him happy?
He's happy when we're talking about lacrosse. That's all he cares about. Doesn't he can use his stats or not.
I love it. Talk to me about you mentioned you're involved at the youth level. Obviously the high school head coach. I know some programs in the States, it's kind of synchronous, right? Where their youth teams are talking to their high school programs and vice versa. And then there's some that aren't. What have you found to be the advantage, in kind of having that all be one, silo?
It helps me to know the kids, and that is the primary benefit of it. But also I get to make sure that we have amazing coaches and that we have a place to play and fields and uniform. There are just a lot of things that go into coordinating it, and then, it's a privilege really to be able to do it. And I get to talk with other program directors and work with Cassie and Nikki at I Am Lax, and my favorite Michael, right? So get to work with just really great people. And I find that there's a lot of continuity. So when my 9th graders enter high school, they're not at the high school yet. They should be, but that's my soapbox, right? The 9th graders, they're playing in high school. They should be in high school, but Alpine School District doesn't agree with me on that yet. But they know what to expect. They know who I am. They've seen me before. And I'm able to get them in for parent meetings and player meetings, and they kind of know they're able to transition much more easily. And then plus, you think about like guys like Cliff down at Salem Hills, where he doesn't have a youth program. He just builds out of nothing, and he does a remarkable job. But it's really rewarding to be able to get relationships with these kids from when they're young, and then continue those relationships into high school and watch their growth and progress as humans and as lacrosse players.
Yeah, and I like that. They're once they graduate from or go to 9th grade, they're not stranger to the program. They're not a stranger to you. And that can definitely help with the culture. And that's my next question. What's something at Skyridge, you don't have to reveal too much, but what's something that you guys do culturally, to kind of build that program, to build that strength in the culture?
I think one of the points of emphasis for us is to do it for your team. We've got a motto, it's die fit, do it for your team. We stole that shamelessly from my daughter's college team and haven't looked back from that. But the idea of working outside of practice to achieve goals for the team. And it's the work that you put in on your own time that's going to make you excellent and great. I'm going to do the best I can to create practice plans for you to increase our team chemistry and but this individual skills that you need to be an excellent lacrosse player are built on your own time. Nobody's watching you, right? And so we try to talk a lot about things that we do for our team. Like, for example, my son's on the team. He's my senior, and he is out every day shooting, has done it every day this fall. And sometimes he takes the neighborhood youth kids with him. Sometimes he takes his high school kids. Sometimes just him by himself on the field every day, 6 days a week. That is his commitment to it. And that's kind of what we're trying to instill. I've got another girl that, a player who was a starter last year, real good player, broke her arm snowboarding a couple weeks ago, got immediate surgery, got some pins in, and found out a week later pins didn't work. She had rods put in, another surgery. She gets her cast, and I get a picture the next day from her mom of her standing outside at their bounce back with one hand repping the wall, right? And that is kind of what we're trying to instill, is this vision that your work will pay off for you, but it will also pay off for your whole team.
Love it. And when I talked to Coach McMinn a couple of weeks ago and did a podcast with him, he was talking about Nico DePonio, who, was the preseason all ASUN Defensive Player of the Year and has had just an incredible season so far. And it was exactly that. It was, hey, he spends 45 minutes after practice, on the field practicing his ground balls. He's putting in that work outside of practice, and so I love to hear that. And I love that model. Do it for your team. I also talked to Coach King recently as well, and they have similar models. It's doing it for the people next to you, right? And on the sidelines and on the field next to you. And I love that, that's what you're building there at Skyridge. A couple other questions. You mentioned you've got two daughters playing, in college lacrosse. As a parent who's gone through this, talk about some of the recruiting tips, some of the recruiting advice you'd give to other parents who are in that phase right now or who are going to be in that phase.
Well, we're actually in it, right? Because we've got the two that are in college. My son is committed to college, but then my daughter is a sophomore. So this is her recruiting summer. And so, yeah, we're in the thick of things. And the best advice that, we've gotten so much help from inside people who know the college coaches. Teresa Sherry over at Tenacity has been just phenomenal at helping. She helped Haven get placed. She helped River. She knows her coach real well. And so was able to make sure that was going to be a good fit. And then they both come back and worked camps and things for her. But she has an excellent kind of recruiting package that she does, where she and her people that are on the inside kind of, it's all like a, kind of, do you like me, or do I like you? Do you like me? Right. So you want to go to those camps where the coaches are actually interested in you. And it's hard to know, are they going to be interested in you unless you have some help from the inside. So if you have people, I also got a great, a call from one of the Lynx coaches the other day, and was offering to kind of help Summer create a connection for her. Then who knows if that pans out? You never know if these things pan out, but any connections that you can make, these sacrifices that these people are willing to make on your behalf, just thank them and accept it, right? If they know there's a need at this and such college, they're looking for this position, or they there was a time when Stanford only wanted 6-foot blondes, right? But then Liv Prosper gets recruited there from Juan Diego, and she's 5 foot nothing, and she is a phenomenal player, and she's going to be a great asset to their team. But sometimes it's really helpful to know this coach recruits this kind of player. My player is not that. Let's look elsewhere.
Yeah, and your daughters chose, pretty much very different schools, a small D3 college outside of LA, and then, University of Richmond, clear on the other side of the coast. What goes into choosing, like either academically or when they're looking at a bunch of different schools, like the non-lacrosse stuff? What kind of goes into those decisions?
River wanted to be warm.
Okay.
So she ended up being warm. Haven wanted to go to the highest ranked team she could and chose that. My son Cabell looked at a bunch of different schools, visited them, and ended up with also the highest ranked D3 that he had offers to. And so they both knew they wanted to be on the East Coast and they wanted strong academic programs with low acceptance rates so that the lacrosse piece would help them get into those schools. And also the other thing that we look for is how big is their endowment, right? University of Richmond and Pomona and Washington Lee, all three have really big endowments with significant financial aid, which with 6 kids
Yeah,
was something that we need. And so those are the things that we look at first.
absolutely. And then if you can make those work and find a fit there, then the lacrosse piece can come second, and you can
So yeah, they would argue that the lacrosse piece comes
sure,
first
sure.
and foremost, but yes.
Sure. Very good. And 2 more questions for you. Let's talk about this current Skyridge team. What can fans expect? What can someone who's coming to watch a game expect from the play on the field?
A lot of passing, just a lot of passing. We've got my daughter is a fast pass first player. Her friends, more than half of our goals were assisted. We just love to pass and catch. And so we had a Summer set the Utah state record for assists last year. Her goal was always to get more assists than goals in a game. And we had, I think, 5 returning players that got at least 30 goals last season. And so we've got a lot of returners that freshmen last year that are now got that season under their belt. And so there'll be a lot of passing. And then we've been working on our defense. We look at Mountain Ridge only allowed 7 goals per game last year. We lost to them in the semis. Farmington allowed 6 goals per game. We allowed 9, and we're looking to kind of close that gap. That's something that we're working on. But, we've got our eye on these excellent teams that we play against. We have just really good competition right now. Mountain Ridge is just Coach Angie is just so amazing there. And Farmington, Coach Jensen's done such good things. Riverton's gonna be great this year. Kelleher's and Harriman's returning their top 4 scorers. I mean, Lone Peak is always a battle, and we got to face them all the time. I wish we didn't have to face them quite so much, right? So we just have a lot of good teams, and we're gonna just work our guts out and let the results be what they are. But we've never had a season where we did such thorough, intense preparation since the summer. We practiced more and practiced better than we ever have. And so that's encouraging. And I love what the kids are doing on their own time to improve their own games, all the wall ball and the running and the whatever else it is that they're doing. So.
And we're a couple weeks away from finding out, if it'll all pay off, and I'm sure it will. Last question I have for you. You talked about playing lacrosse at BYU, and then you're coaching it today. What are some of the differences that you've seen, for better or worse, in the game since you played to now when you're coaching?
Well, I mean, they're the obvious things, like you wear goggles now and you have band-aids now, and the positions we didn't have a restraining line, so the game has changed. As far as the experience, it is eerily the same, right? It's still the same. Catch the ball, score goals, defend, run, sprint. It's just all the fundamentals are exactly the same. And I love that. In Utah, the current way that it's officiated favors kids who force through the defense, because they'll get a call and then they get these penalty shots. And so, we tend to play a more East Coast style with the passing. And so it is what it is, right? So we understand that that's the environment that we play in, but we're not going to change our style of play to match that. I just don't think forcing through 5 sticks is pretty lacrosse, and we're not going to do it. So.
Yeah. So, a couple differences there, but at the end of the day, it's still lacrosse,
It's the
which
same game I fell in love with all those years ago. Yep.
that's right. That's right. Coach, thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you've got some more lacrosse talking to do today, and I appreciate you coming on. And best of luck to Skyridge this season.
Oh, thanks, Tim. I sure appreciate it. It's just an honor to be able to talk with you. I think you do great work. Your podcasts are great. And I love the way that you're promoting lacrosse in Utah. It helps us so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I thank you very much. It's been fun. It's a labor of love as lacrosse is for everyone here, and
Yep,
it's exciting. So thanks again.
it is. All right. Take care. Thank you.